Hey, Alec here. Today I'm going to talk about how to price your services as a freelance developer. How much should you charge for a website? I'm going to tell you exactly how to take care of all of that, from the website itself to hosting and everything in between. So the first thing you have to keep in mind is when you're charging for websites, you want to charge more than just minimum wage. You don't want to be the freelancer that charges not a lot of money. Okay, the reason is there's two ways that you can find clients. You can either find clients by becoming the best option for people who want to pay the lowest money possible, or position yourself as a good option for people who are willing to spend more for quality. And when you work with clients who are willing to spend more for quality, not only are they going to pay you more, but also you're going to have less trouble because they're going to complain less about what you do and trust you more, because when they pay you because they think you're the cheapest option, they have a very low opinion of you. So oftentimes they're going to be like, oh, I don't like that, change that. Oh, I don't like that, can you change that for free? Can you do that for free? And all these sort of things that don't really happen much when you're working with higher paying clients, because they kind of hire you because they think you're good. And so because of that, when they see things that they don't like as much on websites, usually they're like, oh, I don't like that, but he probably knows more than me about websites, so I'm going to trust him, which is very different than what you're going to experience with people who want the cheapest person possible. When you're positioning yourself too cheap, you get people who are like, oh, he's cheap, so he's probably not that good. So, oh, shit, he made this part of the website that's not to my tastes. I, as an entrepreneur, probably knows more. It's not the case, but that's what they think. So they start giving you all these different complaints and ask you to change all these things. Be very careful. I think when you're starting out, you should never go below $45 an hour. And I'm talking about if you're targeting developed country, which is you definitely should, in my opinion. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. The truth is, these days, you can probably very easily contact people in other countries and get clients, provided you're good enough with the languages there. And when it comes to choosing countries, choose them based on what languages that you know and how much they tend to pay for web development services, and also check their email laws if you use cold email. So never go below $45 an hour when you're starting out. And the reason for it is that if you go below that, people start seeing you as a cheap freelancer rather than the freelancer of quality. And so you're going to attract clients that are going to be bad clients, and you're going to have a lot of problems with that. And also, I'm going to mention that sometimes lowering your price can help you find clients. It can be a short-term solution for survival, but it can't be a solution for long-term prosperity. When it comes to charging, $45 is the minimum, in my opinion, that you should charge. And you should actually gravitate more to something like $65 per hour, okay? $65 per hour. The reason I'm saying that is I worked with a lot of different companies from Canada, and even when I started out, people were willing to pay $85 an hour for my time. And I think for a lot of people, you look at these numbers and you kind of are unsure about whether or not they're true. And because you've never been paid that kind of money before, you've probably worked with a lot of different student jobs, part-time jobs paying you like minimum wage. And for a lot of you, you're in countries where you're probably getting paid lower than the US or Canada's minimum wage. So for you, maybe this looks like a lot of money. But what you need to understand is that websites are sold at quite a lot of money. This is not the money that developers usually get paid when they're working at an agency or a normal job, but that's usually what companies pay for website services to the agencies that hired these developers. Usually what happens is that, the boss sells a website for 65, 85, or maybe more per hour, and they give part of that salary to the developers, but they keep a big chunk of it. Sometimes developers get paid $30 an hour, but the boss probably keeps 40 of these hours. And in my experience, I've even been in a situation where I had a boss that charged $85 an hour to clients and paid me $18 an hour when I was the only programmer who was doing all the websites. So theoretically, if I just, instead of having a job and went to get my own clients and he was selling my services for that amount of money, I could just go sell my services for that amount of money and, not have to pay him the $60 an hour that he was taking from me. And that's what I did. And that's why I became a freelancer. And I realized, hey, I'm now being able to charge $85 an hour for my time. It feels like a big number until you realize that that's actually what clients usually pay for websites. So yeah, don't look at the value of your services based on how much you've been paid in the past and how much you expect to pay. Think more on your client's point of view. Think about how much they expect to pay and think about how they will see it. If instead you charge $30 an hour, which is half of what the website is usually worth, how will they see that? Maybe they're going to be happy, but they're probably going to start seeing you as a cheap developer because, hey, you're charging like 50% less than other people in your area, which is not very good to position yourself as an expert and to help you in the future make a lot more money. So always when you're doing with prices, don't look at how much you've been paid in the past, how much you think this is worth. Think about how it is worth in the eyes of the clients. They're the one paying it. So I gravitate, if I were you, to 65. I realize some of you do not feel like, you have your self-confidence, you have your self-esteem, you don't think you deserve it. I recommend that you start with that, but if you really can't, you can go with 45. The trick with this, okay, is you have to understand that you have to calculate how many hours it usually takes you to build a website. And you don't want to charge per hour, you want to charge per project based on these hourly rates. The reason is, if you charge per hour, you say I'm going to charge you $65 per hour, and I'm going to charge you for 30 hours. In my case, that's about the amount of time it takes for the types of companies I'm working with to make their websites. People sometimes look at that and they're like, $65 an hour. I can probably find someone who's willing to do this work and who's going to do a good job for less than 65. However, if you actually look at exactly what $65 an hour times 30, I think it's like $1,950 or something. It's basically about $2,000. And if you look at this, $65 an hour on the employer side, it looks like a big number, but $2,000 for a website, it feels like a fair amount. So what you have to do instead, I recommend, is that you don't say I charge $65 an hour, you say I charge $1,950. All of a sudden, it's the same number. It's the exact same thing. In the end, the client is paying the same thing. However, emotionally, in their mind, it's not the same thing. If you tell them $65 an hour, they feel like it's a big number. If you tell them you charge $1,950, they don't feel like it's such a big number usually. And if they feel like it's a big number, it means that you're probably not contacting the right type of businesses. You're probably working with businesses that are not big enough. So you have to change, not necessarily your prices, probably more change who you're trying to work with, because one of the biggest things to your prosperity is choosing the right clients to work with. So that's one thing. When it comes to you have to think about a bunch of different things. You also have to think, what am I going to include in this website? Not every website is going to be $30 an hour. It is going to be 30 hours. Some websites are going to take you more. Some websites are going to ask you to do things. You're going to have to take account that sometimes clients are going to ask you to do some stuff for free. You're going to take a lot of these things into account. I'd say probably in that 30 hours, I take into account the fact that my website building probably going to take me about 25, and I have a 5-hour kind of like pillow, 5-hour like safety net, so that all the other things that my clients are going to ask of me, I can do this with the extra 5 hours. Sometimes it takes more, but usually clients don't ask me more than, don't require me to do more than the 25. So on average, by doing this to every client, I end up getting to work about 30 hours per project, because some of them ask me to do more work for free and others. But for free work, you also want to do another thing. You want to be sure that your contract includes a lot of different things. For example, you want a line in your contract. I don't know what country you're working for. I don't know if this is legal in your case, but one thing that I've seen and I think is really cool and I've done is I have a line in my contract that says, For any work that is done outside of the mandate, I charge $85 an hour or whatever time hourly rate that you want to charge. And this way, when clients ask me too much, I can just say, okay, I can do that for you, but because it's outside the mandate, just look at the contract, and I can do that for you at $85 an hour as per the contract says. It kind of protects you from all the clients who kind of like come back and they're like, oh, but I expected you would do this. I would expect you would do this too. And that's why you have to be very specific on your contract, on your proposal. What exactly are the limits of the mandate? Where does your work stop? And where is it outside of the mandate, so that you can start, you have an easier time getting paid for these hours, and not have clients be like, oh, but I thought that would be included. No, actually, I have very specifically stated in the contract and the proposal that these are the limits of the project. After that, the other things that I feel are worth including are hosting. When it comes and domains. And SSL and all of the other things that are kind of subscriptions that need to be paid over and over and over. I see a lot of developers ask me, oh, but if I make a website and I have to pay for the hosting, I make the website, but like in 10 months, I will have lost money because I had to pay the hosting and the domain and like whatever. You should not be the one paying for the hosting. It doesn't make sense. Like hosting, if you make a website for $3,000, the client keeps the website for 30 years. Over the long run, you would have wasted more money than the client would have paid you. It doesn't make sense. You are not the guy who's paying for the hosting nor the domain. You have two things you can do. You can either have in your contract something that says the client is responsible for paying hosting and domains. Otherwise, and that's a good option. Otherwise, you can also make money through offering hosting and domains. What you can do is basically buy a VPS, which you can go check on Google what that means. And through this VPS, you can put all your clients on it and charge them a certain amount of money per year to stay hosted on your VPS. And this process can be one of the easiest ways to make passive recurring income as a developer. And what I've seen is the average prices that I've seen in Canada for companies that do this, usually they charge around I think $130 a year. So you can charge that. If you think about it, as a web developer, you've probably seen that hosting can be can be purchased for way less than $140. But the thing is, clients, when they've already paid $2,000 to work with you, and you offer them $130, it doesn't look like that big of a number. And your job is not to offer the cheapest services possible to your clients. You basically make offers, and it's their responsibility to decide whether or not they want to accept the offer. And oftentimes the clients will be happy to pay the $130 instead of just going and checking on Google if it's a good price and everything. The beauty about the VPS is that you buy it once and you can put a lot of websites on it. So usually the first client that you put on your VPS pays for the VPS, or pays around what it costs for your VPS that year, and all the other clients that you put on it are profit. And if you think about it, $130 a year, even if you made only like 20 websites that year, like that's still like about $2,000 a year. And they're going to keep staying on your hosting plan because a lot of them are not going to go out of business and they're going to keep their website, which means that every year you keep that recurring income. And over time, you get thousands and thousands of dollars of free money that comes to you just because you're taking care of that hosting. So yeah. Hosting is a very good way to make money as a developer, and I think you should definitely consider it. But the other option of just letting the client pay for hosting is also very simple and requires less work on your part. So both of them are pretty good options. If you have any questions about this, you can ask me in the comments, and definitely subscribe and watch my upcoming videos because I'm going to share with you a lot of really good stuff about how to find clients. And if you want to see that, subscribe and see my upcoming videos. With that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.